how is meditation a radical act? And it blew my mind because she's right. Like, meditation is a radical act because you have to meet yourself. If you're going to meditate, you're meeting yourself in a place that, where you can't like run and hide.
Exactly. And I think what really resonated on that one with me was just how often I did run and hide or check out, as she talked about having the glass of wine, shopping online, like all those things that we do, or even eating, junk food or whatever. Those are all just checkouts. And so she's right. It is radical to actually have to sit with yourself and meet yourself.
Welcome to Functional Medicine Coaching Moms Podcast, where simplifying healthy lifestyle change for moms is the only goal.
Hi, everyone. Today, we are wrapping up season 1 of Functional Moms Podcast. Kristin and I are going to be discussing the episodes in season 1 and how they've helped us simplify healthy lifestyle change.
We are functional medicine certified health coaches, aka behavioral change specialists. And this has been amazing getting all these success secrets from our expert guests.
We've divided the episodes into categories. So, Kristin, where shall we start?
I am thinking we are going to start with self-care because that is such a great topic for moms, especially for everyone, but especially for moms.
Yes.
So I think we should start there. And one of our very early on episodes was episode 4, Making Meditation Easy with Cheryl Wilson. And what did you learn from that? What do you think was the highlight on that one?
For me, what pops out for me is when she said that meditation was a radical act. That really, I don't know, that just I was like, wow, I never heard that meditation. You think of meditation, you think peaceful, chill, relaxing. You don't think of meditation as a radical act. And I was so curious when she said that. I was like, wow, how is meditation a radical act? And it blew my mind because she's right. Meditation is a radical act because you have to meet yourself. If you're going to meditate, you're meeting yourself in a place that, where you can't run and hide.
Exactly. And I think what really resonated on that one with me was just how often I did run and hide or check out, as she talked about having the glass of wine, shopping online, all those things that we do, or even eating, junk food or whatever. Those are all just checkouts. And so she's right. It is radical to actually have to sit with yourself and meet yourself.
I think that is one of the purposes of meditation, is to be able to face these things and breathe through them. For me, when I meditate, maybe not at that moment, but later on, I'll have an aha moment,
Yeah, it kind of clears your space, right? You kind of just really connect back, and it's interesting.
Yeah. And so I think that, you're right. You have a choice. Let's just say, for example, you're just going through a season, a hard season, and, you can have a choice to meditate and quiet and create the space to allow the connection to understand where you're at and how to travel through the season. Or you can, crack open a bottle of wine and go shop online.
Yeah, and just numb out, right? You just disconnect. Yeah.
And so I think it is hard. It is a radical act to sit with yourself and face whatever it is, in the content of which she was speaking of. So that was a big aha for me, that I never thought of meditation as a radical act.
Yes. So where are we going next with our self-care?
Let's see. Well, this is a good one. It was episode number 9. Self-care is hard work, since we're on that trend right now with Honey Bronson. So for me, I loved how she connected hard work to self-care, because just like with the radical act, meditation, it just seems like, oh, self-care is hard work. Yeah, because I think that sometimes you think of self-care as a manicure, a massage, right? That's not really hard.
And that self-care is optional. It sort of isn't. It's absolutely not optional. If you don't take good care of yourself, your health is not going to be where you want it to be. And then you'll, in the long run, kind of let everybody else down. So I think that, she really made it sound like it's hard work. And I loved how she said, put it on the calendar, because that is so important, I thought.
Schedule yourself.
Yeah, like you would an important doctor's appointment, right? You're not going to miss that. So then if your self-care, whether it's, cooking yourself a healthy lunch or working out or all those, or journaling, those things are so important. If they're scheduled in your calendar, you're much less likely to miss
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. And, with me, like work related, there's so many times I would have women that come to me and their hair is like perfectly done and their nails but then they're like completely out of shape. They're just doing so many things that do not serve them. And, but they take the time for these surface things. But what about like really taking care of that woman inside of you?
Yeah, what a great point. I haven't thought about that. So that's interesting.
Yeah, so that was a really great takeaway, scheduling yourself on the calendar and knowing that self-care is, what am I eating today that's serving me? How am I going to get some movement into my day today? What is my calendar looking like? Am I going to be sitting a lot today? Like, where am I scheduling like even a 5-minute workouts throughout the
Yes,
day, or
I
5-minute
love
walks,
that.
or just movement, right?
Yeah.
So that was a great.
So, moving on in self care, we have episode 11, Building Foundations for a Healthy Mom with Kristina Methakul. She is also known as the Wellness Architect.
Yes.
What were your takeaways on that one?
Okay. So for that one, first of all, I loved how she connected, because she was an architect. And she
right.
switched
Her health
careers
coach.
for her own personal health. So that was like really cool how she did that, and how she connected. Like, it didn't all go for naught. Like, she spent all those years in school becoming an architect and had this like high power job in New York, and then switched careers. But she talked about building the foundation of your health, paying attention to how we are fueling ourselves. And yeah, okay, so we're in fitness and stuff. And of course, we care about nutrition and all that. But for me, the way that she talked about building a foundation and how we're fueling ourselves, it just, I don't know, something about that just really resonates with me.
Well, and I remember, with introduction, like her saying, like, what are you fueling yourself on? Is it adrenaline and coffee and stress, or is it a healthy breakfast and, some good thoughts and maybe some, meditation or something for your brain, like
celery
things like
juice.
that. Yeah, so right, exactly. And like my moment was like, as a mom, how terrible I've been sometimes with eating properly. Like, I would be the first one to fix my kids some great lunch or something, and like I would just totally either pick off their plates or not even eat lunch.
Right.
So it was a good reminder for me, and I think it's something I still, have a tendency to put myself too far last on that. And so this was a great episode, I think, and it's true. Like, she said, if you're cutting up fruit for your kids, have some for yourself. Don't forget about yourself.
Yes, I remember you a couple of times sharing how you'll be eating like the scraps of your kids after they
totally. I was the worst.
Right?
I mean, especially when they were younger. I'm a little better now and stuff, but when they were younger, I was terrible.
Yeah, so that's really great. So let's see what is next on our self-care. Which one is next here?
We have episode 13, Helping Moms Avoid Burnout and Rediscover Purpose with Gwen Johnson.
Okay, yeah. So I really loved this episode with Gwen Johnson. And actually, I really would love to go live with her one day on our
Yeah,
Instagram.
she's amazing.
Yeah,
she has such good thoughts for sure.
Yeah.
She's a functional medicine certified health coach and a life coach for everybody that didn't get to see it. And she's amazing.
So I actually had so many notes with Gwen. What are some of your takeaways with her?
I mean, I think I really remember us talking about the persona and how we kind of are living a way we think we are supposed to be as a wife, a mom, whatever, a daughter. You're living a certain way and you kind of think that you have to always stay that way and live to that persona. And I really liked how she talked about, like, it's not too late to switch. You don't have to, it doesn't matter if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you always have the opportunity to change and follow your dreams. And I think that growth. She was really good at tapping into that. So I really love that part.
So I loved when she said she was talking about hard doesn't mean bad. And what she was talking about was when you're trying to make change and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. And you're all gung ho. And then it gets really hard. And then you're like, oh, this is like not good. This is bad. And then we stop.
Yeah. Like, maybe this isn't for me. Right. That's the thing.
Right.
Yeah. You're like, maybe this isn't for me. Like, I'm not meant to meditate, or I'm not meant to strength train or whatever it is. Like,
yeah. It should. I don't know if it should be
I'm not meant to be a podcaster.
Right, exactly.
This is hard.
So she said hard doesn't mean bad. And she talked about how creativity engages us to age gracefully. And it's our adult, it's like creativity, like using our creativity is how we as adults play. Like that's how we
Yeah.
play.
I know, and she was saying too, I remember that this is the first thing to kind of go, that people like give up on their creativity and they don't think that it's for them anymore, or they don't need it or whatever, and they regret that. It's not so good. It's good to bring it
Yeah,
back. So yeah, she's really good at that, like tapping into the creativity and all
yeah,
that.
she literally said, creativity engages aging gracefully and with that dusty energy. Like she just was talking about, like, as you're getting older, you still have that energy, that vibe about you because you're in your creative spirit. And she said, I want to lead my daughter to prioritize herself no matter what is going on in the world. And that was also great because, you know, our kids do learn as we do, not as we say, I think a lot of the time. And then
Of
she
course,
talked
yeah.
about remember the list? She said,
Yes, she has a fabulous list. Yeah,
yeah,
you can
the
find that.
list, what self-care is. And she's like, write 40 things that actually generate energy and that vibrate your being. So it's not like, oh, what is self-care? Well, it's, you know, cracking that bottle of Chardonnay. Well, is that really self-care? Like, how do you feel after that? Does it really give you, you
It
know?
has to be right, something that fills you up. Like that's what she had
Yeah, yeah.
explained to us, that yeah, it can't be something like that would deplete you.
Yeah, and creating the
Yeah.
list. And this is one of the things I have to confess that I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna write this list. Cause you know, then you're supposed to like look at your list and say, like at the end of the day, like how many ways that, you know, how many of
Mhm.
these things did I use in today in my list? You know, did I go for a quick little walk? Did I admire nature? Like little, it could be little things. Did I drink my water? And I have to confess I haven't done the list. So I'm
I
glad that
haven't
we're
either.
doing this recap.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows too, we'll put it in the show notes, but she has a list created as well that to really kind of spark your brain
Oh,
going there
a
and think
little
of
inspo
ideas.
list.
Yes, and it's
Love
awesome, and they're
that.
tiny little things you can do in the morning, the afternoon, like different times of day as well,
That
evening,
is so great.
just
You know
little
what?
things.
That
Yeah.
actually gives me an idea for us that we can do our list and maybe share it. You know, we can share it on our social media and our shorts. So maybe, you know, give other people inspo too from
Yeah,
our,
yeah. I
that'd be
really
really
yeah, we
cool.
gotta revisit that. So in keeping with our different categories, we're moving on to brain health. And we had early on episode 6, early Alzheimer's warning signs with Jessica Pierce, aka otherwise known as Brain Coach Jess. And this was a really good one. What were your thoughts on this?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that we all know about how, you know, we all hear about the importance of sleep and etc. But I never knew that bad sleep habits are one of the things that affect or can
It could like predispose you. Yes, dementia, Alzheimer's, like sleep is a very important piece. And I agree with you. Like I think in our culture, people kind of dismiss it like, I didn't sleep well last night or whatever. I'm just gonna coffee through the day or
Right.
whatever. And they're saying, no, you really do need to focus on that sleep. And that was one of her core tips for us, is to really focus on
Yeah,
that.
and just to piggyback on that, I think a lot of people, like, I know I speak to so many women, especially, you know, when you're going into that like menopause stage of your life. You know, I'm 57 and so many women, oh yeah, well, I don't sleep well, you know, but it's like, well, it's
Mhm.
just part of my life, you know, like it's not a big deal.
Right.
However, I think after listening to the brain coach, Jessica, that I'm like, wow, prioritizing how can I sleep better and not just cough it up as I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't get
Mhm.
good sleep. Yeah, that's just how I am. It's just what it is. You know, I manage. Like, ooh, okay, so that's not a good attitude
Not the
to
best.
have, right?
Yeah. No, I know, and I liked how she highlighted the Aura Ring. I actually have an Aura Ring. I do love it for my sleep because it'll track your deep sleep, your REM sleep, and I noticed a huge change, like, when I played around with my sleep routine and my hygiene or whatever you would call it, sleep hygiene. I, lowered the temperature in my room, and, actually on my mattress, I have a chili pad thing that lowers the
That's
temperature, and
so
it
cool.
improved my deep sleep dramatic. So I think maybe people don't realize that you really need a pretty cool room to sleep comfortably
Yeah.
and to get into that deep sleep. And then the other piece is she talked about the screens too. And that's so true. I mean, that is something that I struggle with. I can be really good and put my phone away, and I can be really bad and just sit on my phone until bed, you know? So
Yeah.
that's a good point though, for
Yeah.
getting into that better sleep quality.
There is a episode of actually the Mel Robbins podcast that she talks about this having a productive day starts the night before. And
point.
she
Yeah.
has this thing, is 3-2-1, the 3-2-1 rule. And it's like 3 hours before bedtime, don't stop eating, no alcohol, no food. 2 hours before bedtime, no work. And then 1 hour before bedtime, no screens. And just like reading, taking
are
a
good rules.
bath. And so.
Yeah, sleep routines is, I think, a highly overlooked thing that can really help people, get into a better quality sleep. It's so funny too, because with our kids, we're like, have you
Oh
ever heard
my
of like
God.
bath bottle bed? Like, you'd give
Yeah.
a bath to calm them down, then a bottle in the bed. Like,
I did this last night. Can I tell you? I took a
Yeah.
hot shower and I got my PJs on and I read I read a book. I put my phone and I locked it in the bathroom. And I'm really working on this sleep routine. And I just have to say that it did start me for a great start of my day. And I do think that we shrug it off.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's hard. It is
hard. It's hard,
hard.
especially when you're very busy all day. It's hard to unwind.
And
It
when you're
really can
addicted to
be.
your phone
Yes, when you're addicted to your phone, it doesn't
and
help.
scrolling.
And I just wanted to highlight too the episode with Brain Coach Jess, how she talked about, the early warning signs and things like senior brain or mom brain are not really, or senior moments or whatever. Those are not things to kind of take lightly. They are serious warning signs that something could be going on and that you can actually reverse symptoms. As she talked about with her mother, she reversed her mother's early Alzheimer's symptoms just through lifestyle factors like sleep and diet and all that.
Yeah. And I just also want to say now that you say that guys, like if you have any type of, any worry in that arena, watch this episode because she actually tells you exactly what her and her mother did because she was also susceptible to the gene because she took that
Right.
test.
They both have the gene. Yeah, they did
Right.
have the gene. Right.
And
her
so-
grandparents had Alzheimer's.
And
yeah.
she's setting up her daughter
Mhm.
to for prevention in that arena. So I thought that was an amazing, that was a loaded episode.
It was. Moving on to episode 7, we had What If It's Not Depression with Dr. Achina Stein.
Okay.
That was one of our live podcasts from AIC down in Orlando we recorded. That was the functional medicine annual meeting. And that was very exciting that she sat with us for that, like kind of a mini episode. But what was your takeaway on that one?
Yeah, I was the one that was speaking with her. And my takeaway was when she said, let me just make sure that I have it right here. When she said, if you're being treated for depression, but for whatever reason, it's not working for you, you could feel stuck, like that's your only option. And to be curious of other ways that you can help yourself. And because that happened to me, not with depression, but with anxiety. And I was on this medication and it made me feel really weird. And I told the doctor, I was like, all right, well, this medic's like, oh, you got to give it time, so that you can make adjustments and get used to whatever. And I was like, yeah, I don't really want to get used to this. This is not what I want. And so I had to make a decision, do I want to experiment with other medications or do I want to try and see if maybe I just really hone in on lifestyle choices that have been known to help other people? And I figured, let me give that a fair shot. And
it was successful for you.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. And I think it's important, depression is a spectrum. Obviously, if it's a more mild form, I think that's more what she's talking about here, that you can look into the lifestyle. And she talked about the toxins and just, it's just amazing how powerful exercise is, right? Didn't you do a post recently about that? That's your medicine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so many people I know.
I said, you want medicine? Here it is.
Yeah, here it is, right? So for a lot of people, things like that can be just as effective, if not more effective than medication, depending on where you are with your depression.
Yeah, absolutely. I am all about that. That was a really, I know her son was had a real strong bout of depression where I think he was even suicidal. And she was like, something is wrong. My son was never like this. And they were giving him all types of medications until I don't remember the whole story, but they did figure out the root cause and her son is well now.
Yeah. Yes. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what got her into functional medicine, really, I think, is
that's right. And
because she's a psychiatrist and there weren't that many psychiatrists looking at functional medicine at that point. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
founders.
Kristin, you're right. And she said she found this doctor who was into functional medicine and he was the one that helped her son. And then after her son, she saw the miraculous, transformation. She said, I will volunteer to work for you. She's like, I want to work for your office. And she wanted to double down on that. And she did. Amazing story.
Amazing story. So many amazing functional medicine stories we've heard on these on our episodes,
including yours.
So moving on to gut health, we have episode 10 it was Gut Health Simplified with Kim Del Castillo. And she really shared a lot about how our gut and stress are linked. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that was interesting. I know that for you, I remember you because I think you even posted about this because she talked about the vagus nerve, right?
Yeah.
And you talked
Mhm.
about that and how that actually made me aware because just even doing that, even me doing this right now.
Yeah. So for everybody, like you take your knuckle and you kind of rub down the side of your neck and you'll feel that's where your vagus nerve is. And I guess you can activate it that way.
Yeah, one of the
And
ways.
so one of the ways. And it's
Yeah.
a relaxation. I mean, just doing it right now, I feel so
I know that's
much
what I was
calmer.
saying. I was just, it's
Yeah.
just very soothing and it just kind of
Yeah.
brings
Just
it
calms you down. And I had taught it to my daughter, and what was amazing was that like a couple weeks later, we were at a doctor's appointment and she was nervous and I saw her start to do it. And I was like, that's so amazing. She's applying like what we learned. Like really cool.
That was very cool. That was a big aha moment for me as well, because I actually use that, would you call it a technique? I use that all the time.
Yeah. No, it was a really good tip.
She also taught us about the food sensitivity testing.
Yeah, that was really good information that she does this extensive testing where she can help people really get to the root cause of symptoms and especially gut issues. And, what was amazing, I remember she said like, Brussels sprouts or something could come up for somebody and you think, well, that's a health food, why would that be bad for me? So it sounds like it's a very good thing to explore further.
Yeah, so that you see what is fueling you
Yeah,
appropriately.
Right?
Right?
Yeah,
All these things connects, right?
Yes, it all connects for sure.
So moving on here to episode number 16 with Jessica Spain. And that was really great because also my daughter was in that episode with us.
Yes, yeah. Taya came. That was
Yeah,
great.
that was great. My daughter has some of these issues. So it was great to have just that interaction, with all four of us. That was very cool. What was your
and
takeaway
I have
from
to
that?
well, I have to share that I've been trying their product, Digest Live, and it has been very helpful for me. It's a very good, so for those that don't know, it's a female constipation solution. So it's just like, and it's a herbal supplement. So it's all natural. And I've been taking it in the evening and it makes me go to the bathroom in the morning. And because I kind of have been a person that struggles on and off with constipation, I've used things like magnesium citrate that's really helped me. And of course, diet. I have to watch my diet. I've been amazed with their products. So I have to say that was something that I took away from that episode. And then just the fact that the reasons for constipation in a woman are different than a man.
That's what I was going to say.
Really interesting.
That's what I wanted.
I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, that came up when you just said, what is it called again? The supplement that you're taking?
Digest Live.
Digest Live. It's a supplement for women for constipation.
Yes.
And the highlight for me was when she talked about the difference. I will not even attempt to talk about what it was because I just know the essence of what she was saying. I will not give it justice, but that to me I never thought of that. Like
She shared that women have a longer colon than men, which I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then also just that, it's estrogen, progesterone play a role. Like there is a role there that's different than a man. So their product is designed specifically for women. And yeah, I have to say I'm way impressed. So.
Yeah, very much so. And also because, like she said, they treat constipation for men and women in the general, the same, and it's not the same. And so I thought that was very interesting. And she's just an amazing woman. Continuing on with our gut health category is episode number, what was that? 23, The Secret Holistic Approach to Skincare with Marina Sky.
Yeah, this was really interesting to hear from her about how she helped her mom heal from Crohn's disease through dietary changes.
Without surgery and without prescription.
No surgery. And this was serious. Yeah. Like her mom was about to undergo surgery and it was amazing. Just the dietary changes, like what a huge impact that made on her health. And her mom is now in her 80s, is not sick anymore. Yeah. And then we learned how the gut and skin are connected and that if you want beautiful skin, you also have to worry about what you are eating as well as what you're putting on your face.
Yeah. One of the things also just, she talks about her own skincare issues and how she took a holistic approach to clear her own skin issues. And
she had acne and issues like that. Yeah.
And she said that her son has her genes in that department and her son is suffering from that. And and that she had such a hard time getting him to understand the connection with his diet to his skin. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, tell me if I'm pretty sure that he like totally doesn't listen to her because, she's his mom. I mean, right?
Yeah.
And that's his mom. But I think he heard someone else talking about it and he's like, oh, mom, I'm going to do this
Yeah.
diet. And she's like,
Then it
oh,
sounded like a good
really?
idea. When it didn't come from her, it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, so
That's so true.
that was very, very interesting, especially because if you just think like if you just have normal skin, imagine like what your skin can look like. And this is a woman that had an actual like real genetic problem that she was able to heal herself and through skin through her gut health.
Yeah, it definitely inspired me too. She said that we should be wearing sunscreen even in the winter, something that would stop the aging process. And she told us to look at underneath our arm and compare that to our face to see how much damage we've had.
Wow.
When I did that, I thought, wow, okay, yeah, I see a big difference. If I had been religiously wearing that sunscreen, it might be better, but what are you going to do?
Yeah,
We try our best. So yeah, that's a great listen. And it was really cool.
Moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. We learned some things. So.
Yeah, but she had a lot of good tips and she gave us a tour of her establishment here. She's in New Jersey, which was another cool thing. So we can actually, we plan on going to set up an appointment with her and maybe doing a little on the field episode.
Yeah, little showcase of what we can do for our skin.
Yeah,
Love
very
it.
cool. All right. Category has to do with our kids and teens health. And in episode number 4, we actually had my daughter on again. And it was about raising, because my daughter's a mom of 2. My grandson is 6 years old and my granddaughter is 1. And it was about raising kids in a sugar and processed food filled America. And that episode did amazing. Made us realize how many people are in tune with this. And
yeah, a lot of people are concerned about this.
Yeah, and want support in this arena. What would you say was your takeaway for this one?
Yeah, I loved how Taya in this one shared how she's trying to raise conscious eaters and just kids that are aware of what they're putting in their body, how to read a label, basic things like that. I think were just, I mean, to be honest, I never thought about that for years. I never looked at labels. What really kind of got me to look at labels was my daughter had food allergies. So then I actually had to read labels. And sometimes I'd be like, what is this stuff? I don't even know, all these packaged foods.
Right.
So I thought that was a great tip that she gave that, you want to set a foundation, let your kids know how to read a label, let them know, learn a little bit about nutrition and set a good foundation for them.
Yeah. And I think the other part was, but also letting them it's like Liv also, she set the foundation, but then if Emmett's at a birthday party, she's looking at mom, can I eat this? And she's like, yeah, go ahead. Have a great time.
Just go, right. Yeah, exactly. You can't get the all or nothing where you're so strict that then the kids feel, restricted.
Right. Because that's not healthy.
It's not healthy at all. No.
So it's like knowing when I thought that was a great, because I could see how a young parent, with young children, just, learning the ways of the world. And especially in today and age where with social media and things constantly coming at you. And that's part of the reason why we even started this podcast. So it's to simplify healthy lifestyle change, because there's so many things coming at us that you could feel overwhelmed and you could feel like, oh no, you can't eat that. No, you can't do that. Oh, you can do that. And it's like, oh my gosh, chill out. You do your personal best. You use common sense.
And, for me, my kids are teens now. And, am I cringing sometimes when I see what they're coming home with or what they're eating? Yes. But I try to keep my mouth shut because, they have to explore. They have to figure it out themselves. They know
and
they
you
have
laid the foundation. That's right.
It's there.
Exactly.
It's there. So when they want to come back to it, they can, and they know. And, it's really sometimes when you don't feel so great that you start looking, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't be eating all this stuff.
Yeah.
You kind of learn. You learn the hard way.
Yeah, exactly. But at least you have the awareness,
to connect it, even to connect. Maybe I don't feel so great because this is how I'm eating.
You know why? You have a greater sense of awareness because you have those foundations that were laid out for you at home. Which brings us to episode number 8, which is right in that same, raising kids and kids' health, and which is Beyond Med Solutions for Kids with ADHD and I love this guy, Dr. Scott Shannon. He was freaking the bomb. I love this dude.
Yeah, he's a great doctor, psychiatrist, expert that we spoke to at the AIC again in Orlando. And
he was kicking it at the after party, by the way.
Yeah, He was. We were on the dance floor. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was fun.
he was he was dancing away. But
It was really
yeah, so all right, so here we learned that there are many different reasons for ADHD, and sometimes
Mhm.
lifestyle factors help improve symptoms. And I just want to emphasize for me, because I have a son that has ADHD, and actually I think all my kids have a tad of ADHD, including me.
I'm starting to wonder in my house too, I think. We
Yeah,
have definitely one confirmed. I'm not sure about everybody else.
yeah. So, I think it's not, for me, it's not sometimes. Lifestyle factors, 100%. It brings me back to what the Australian woman, Barbara O'Neill, she said, genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Yeah, for
And for
sure.
me in this ADHD world with my kids and even with myself, because like with Shane, Dr. Shannon talked about having your kids exercise before going to school. You
Yeah,
know,
like burning off that excess energy. Yeah.
Yeah. And also it just helps your brain focus better.
Yeah, I know. I just learned something the other day that like you're better off walking or something when you're trying to absorb information, like a podcast or something versus sitting. Like your brain will actually absorb it better, which is wild.
It is. And I mean, honestly, personally, when I go for runs, I'm listening to stuff. When I
Mhm.
go for a run, it's like gets that whole thing going for me. And so and which, even like the red dye number 4, the things that we eat make a
Yeah, for
huge difference.
sure.
I saw a huge difference in Shane when I changed his diet. And I
Yeah.
know you
Yeah.
did too.
I did too with my son for sure. And I think it really helped. He has not gone on medication so far. And I think that really helped a lot, and
Yes.
now he's sort of shying away from those changes. And I'm seeing his symptoms are maybe worsening. Maybe, he will have to use the medication. So we'll see. But I think
Or make
that
the
the other,
lifestyle changes, make those
or
dietary
well, if,
changes.
yeah, teens, it's harder, I'll say. It's harder to get them to be compliant, like with something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But let me just tell you, like in my world, Shane is 19 years old now. And for some reason, like he definitely he notices. And like the other day, there was because it was Halloween. So there were all these candies, from
Oh,
my
yeah.
grandkids, and everybody's
Hmm.
like all these horrifying candies. And he was going to grab this like bar, and he was going to eat it. And he looked at me and he's like, and he put it back down.
Yeah.
But he wasn't doing it because
Like,
of
no
me.
thanks.
Yeah, but he was just like, oh, you know what? Actually, no, I'm not doing
I don't
that to
need it.
myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not
Right.
doing that to myself. So,
Right. Yeah. We have to also highlight how Dr. Shannon talked about the breakfast, which was huge. He
ooh,
said there was a study that said if you gave a kid a high carbohydrate breakfast, like cereal or waffles or something, and then they gave kids no breakfast, and then they gave kids a high protein breakfast, hands down, high protein breakfast was the winner. The second one was no breakfast at all. And the third one was the high carb, which that one really
yeah,
surprised
that
me.
did surprise me, especially when he
Yeah.
said, so basically the study's saying that you're better off eating no breakfast than eating a high carb breakfast, sugary
Yeah,
breakfast.
and for years, I mean, that's what we would eat. Like I growing up, I would have like waffles or something, or a bowl of cereal or all that. And so I
Yeah.
guess now we know it's not going to be the best for focus. And then you send your poor kid to school and they have to sit all day like that. That's really hard.
Yeah, or off to a sport where they plummet, their energy plummets because they were on this high, and then they get to the sport and they're like
Right. And
just
then it goes
drop. They have
down.
to play the sport, which brings us to episode number 12 with Michelle Dole, aka the teen health coach. And
Yes.
yeah, so she talked about like the high fat, high protein carbohydrate combo so that they have that even.
Blood sugar, yes. She talked a lot about blood sugar and how important it is for kids and gave us examples like instead of just doing like a bagel with butter or something for breakfast, go for like a bagel with an egg and maybe some sausage and, maybe a slice of cheese if you can do that, like all things like that to make it just a better quality, more sustainable blood sugar for energy.
Right. That's going in. And then I think she spoke about like some simple carbs, like while they're in, like, for example, for Shane, he's a wrestler. So sometimes he has to wait for his match it's just a long day. So then it would be like
Hmm.
simple carbs because then they need something to digest quickly. So it's
Like a
not.
quick energy burst. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that was so helpful because you don't hear anyone really talk much about teens and they're playing a lot of sports. A lot of
yeah,
kids are.
yeah. And like what's seriously, like I always, thank God, I always did think like, what's the difference between my kids that play sports and a professional athlete? Like I want to treat
Yeah.
my kid just like somebody would be treating like a professional athlete. Like I want them to get massages. I want them to stretch out. I want them to have the food that's going to nourish and help them perform their personal best.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's important. I think it's overlooked. And I liked how she highlighted mindset a little bit too, about how, just checking in with your kids about what they're thinking maybe before they're going to the match or the game or
Oh my
whatever,
gosh, you're
because
right. I forgot about that part.
yeah,
Yes.
it was a good tip. I think as parents, we just assume, right? They're fine. They're ready to perform. It's all good. Well, maybe it's not, like we don't know what's going through their
Yeah,
minds. So
because we
we
love
should definitely
cheering our
check in.
kids on the sidelines,
Yeah,
right? We
right.
get like our little like I love being on the watching them, and meanwhile you're right. She's right. There could something be going on in the back burner, and she's
Yeah.
doing a thing with. She was going to be doing like a testing, like the blood to see what was
She was
that.
trying to get like some continuous glucose monitors to check, like to have kids wear them, teens wear them, and then eat different meals and see what happens to their blood sugar. I think she did have something on her Instagram at one point where she had kids test some kind of fast food and see what happened.
Wow, we should make
Yeah.
a note that maybe find out if she actually did that and have her back on so that she can share like her outcomes
Yeah.
with that.
You're not hearing anybody talk about blood sugar and teens. Like you just
Yeah.
don't hear people talk about it. And it does matter more than people want to admit, I think. So,
Yeah, I
especially
want
for
to.
athletes that want to perform
So,
well.
secrets to college success with Professor Chrysler Bailey.
Yes, that was such a great episode, and I
And
have to share
yeah,
on
because
that.
you used her services,
I
right?
did.
For your
So I
son.
bought Coach Chrysler she did a talk for kids that are going to be entering college. And I have a senior this year that just applied to all the colleges. That was a real stressor. And it's a great course that she recorded herself live doing it. And you kind of work through the modules, and we're still working on it because we kind of got tied up with the college application process that was taking a lot of our time. But it's great because it's showing you like how to read a syllabus, how to, communicate with your professor, how to budget, all these things that nobody teaches you. And her being a professor for all these years, what is she like to over 20 years as a college professor? She was just sharing these tips of, what was the missing link for these kids? How come some kids do great in high school and then get to college and everything kind of falls apart? So she really has some good tips on there. And that was a really good episode for anyone that has a kid going to college, or, even if it's their early in the college freshman year or whatever, it's a really good thing to listen to. She had some great tips.
That was a really great tip, and that helped your son, right?
Yeah, I think it's helping him for sure.
Well, we went a little overboard, guys. Our episodes are usually 20 minutes long. But you know what? It was well worth it. We learned so much during season 1. And Kristin, it's been so great going over all these episodes with you. Memory lane, going down memory lane.
Yes,
here.
Raquel, I know. This has been an amazing experience. And everybody should stay tuned for our final season episode, number 25. And that will be wrapping up the whole season 1. And then we're done.
Woo!
That's it.
Let's go. Yes.
Ready for season 2.
Yes, let's go. Fresh new stuff.
The information provided in this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, curing, treating, or preventing any disease. We are functional medicine certified health coaches and not licensed medical professionals. The opinions and advice of guests are their own and also not considered to be medical advice. Always consult with a healthcare professional when making any healthy lifestyle changes.
We would love to hear from our mom community. Any wellness topics that are high on your list, please DM us at Functional Medicine Coaching Moms. We can also be reached via email at info@functionalmedicinecoachingmoms.com. You can find Functional Medicine Coaching Moms podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the subscribe button.